of your screen. And their son Troy came and visited us in the booth up here. So a little stargazing at Shea, and the Fondas, or the Haydens, I should say, the Hayden family stuck it out. Knight with another base hit as he wraps it up the middle once again. First hit off Burke in the 6th base hit for New York tonight.
You think during the rain delay she had a little aerobic workout or anything, Steve?
Probably leading exercise classes in the runways back there. Rafael Santana 1 for 2 with an RBI single to center in the 4th inning. Santana's 11th RBI of the year.
The son was certainly a delightful young man.
Troy came in and had his baseball autographed. Breaking ball for strike 1.
That RBI single by Rafael Santana, his first single, or his first hit period of the year against the Montreal Expos.
He had been 0 for 12 until that base hit in the 4th inning. Fouled off Rafi's own foot, and it's 0-2.
Those can really bite. You just hope it's one of the stingers instead of one of the acres. Very good sinker down and in, right off the toes, it looks like.
I doubt there's anybody who has played the game to any degree who has not done that.
Steve, I'll tell you, when they took an x-ray of my shin one time and got a photograph of my ankle, and the doctors panicked.
It had been pounded a few times. Well, Steve Garland, a trainer, coming out probably with ethyl chloride to spray on if necessary and freeze the affected area. And that little brown case he is carrying looks a little familiar.
That one really stung Rafael. He says he's all right. He says, I'm okay. It just hurts.
Sometimes the ethyl chloride does more harm than good.
Well, if you have a cut, it will.
But when it wakes up after being numbed, it hurts worse than it did before they numbed it. I suppose if you had a break or something that was undetected, it might be trouble putting that on there and not knowing it and continuing to play. But they use it just advisedly. 0-2 to Santana. Nobody out. Knight at first. Bottom of the 6th with the Mets leading 3-1. Now back in this got Nieto's bare hand after Mike Fitzgerald, the starting catcher, had already left the game with at least a dislocated and possibly broken index finger.
He looks like he's in pain.
The Expos had Dan Billardello, but I believe they sent him to AAA this week, and so they have just 2 catchers. And if Nieto cannot continue, we'll have to wait and see who comes in.
Jim Wolford probably is one. Oh, that just got him right on the fingers. I think Timmy McCarver just fainted. 2 catchers going down in the same game. Boy, that had to hurt. As I was saying, Jim Wolford is a kind of a jack of all trades. Very versatile player. They might be able to use him behind the plate. I know one thing, they're certainly hoping right now that Mr. Nieto can handle it.
It looks like he's going to be able to stay in the game. Ron McLean, the trainer for Montreal, is out talking to him, and I think Tom's going to take a few throws here and see if he can in fact throw it back. Boy, it did look like it hit him right on the finger, and there's Vance Law.
There he is.
Vance Law might be the guy to go in. And Vance is, as you see, walking rather gingerly. He does not want to get the call.
No one's pulling more for Nieto right now than Vance Law.
Well, apparently it's more pain than injury, and Nieto's going to stay to get Vance going to turn his hat around just in case. He's getting ready, stretching those thighs. He says, I'm ready, Buck. But please
don't do it.
say it ain't so. Well, fortunately, Nieto's okay. Another 0-2 pitch and a blooper down the right field line. Foul. So everybody back to work, and we'll do it again.
For a second there, it looked like Rafael Santana was going to get that magic back in his bat.
Earlier in the year, Santana had a lot of those fall in, and because of that, most of the right fielders in the National League are playing him shallow. Dawson, however, is not.
It's very surprising that Andre Dawson is not playing him more shallow, especially now with 2 strikes.
And Santana hits it in the gap in right center, but this time Dawson is there. Knight back to first, and there's one away. So maybe Andy knew something we didn't. He was pretty well positioned for that one. So Roger McDowell will bat for the first time. McDowell, who does not get too many at bats, has done pretty well with those that he has received, hitting .357 with 3 RBIs, 5 for 14. Gooden was 0 for 2 as a hitter. Looking for the bunt. Wallach charging, but it's fouled off. Strike 1.
Ray Knight got an awfully big jump off of first base that time.
Krenchicki left in a hurry.
Tom Foley, be interesting to see if he tries to slip in behind there in case there's a bunt and a miss.
And McDowell pulls it back and takes inside. Ball 1, 1-1.
Krenchicki and Wallach are charging aggressively, but again, I will make note that no 2 people I've ever played with or against have ever charged any harder than Keith Hernandez and Ray Knight.
Boy, they are right in the guy's face. Fearless. McDowell to bunt, and it's a pretty good one. Krenchicki thought about tagging McDowell, but Roger, doing the smart thing, stopped in the middle of the base path and made Krenchicki throw to Foley covering at first. So the sacrifice, 3-4, moves Knight down to second.
This is a good job by Roger McDowell. Gets the ball down on the ground. It's a little damp. And a good sacrifice.
So Knight at second after McDowell's sacrifice with 2 away for Len Dykstra, who is 1 for 2 plus a walk. He walked and scored in the first, singled to right in the third, and lined out to left in the fourth. He has also stolen 2 bases tonight to give him 23 on the year.
And in this situation, Steve, Ray Knight is going to have to make sure he gets a real good jump at second base. It's almost as important as anything to do with the play if a single goes out to the outfield. That lead at second base may be the big factor in whether or not he scores or not.
Knight does not have great speed. Dykstra takes high, ball 1.
And he's bouncing good on second base.
With his base hit in the third, as Nieto goes out to talk to Burke, Dykstra now has hit in 17 of the last 20 games. Three to 1 New York in the bottom of the 6th inning after an hour-and-a-half rain delay. The 1-0 pitch. And a delayed call of a strike by Billy Williams makes it 1-1.
Burke with the fastball up. That's a high strike. Billy Williams felt it was low enough.
After due consideration. Dykstra hits it in the air to right field. Dawson going back will have room. And the inning is over. A hit and 1 left in the 6th for New York. And after 6, Rusty says bye-bye. Tim comes back in, and the Mets lead 3-1. Now here's a word from Michelob Light. For oil turns a small town upside down. Join James Stewart and Joanne Drew for Thunder Bay. Saturday's feature at 8 on the $1 Million Movie. Seventh inning with the Mets leading 3-1 as Wayne Krenchicki leads it off. Back in after a rather prolonged absence, Tim McCarver.
Well, I had to. I was just gone. This game is just gone. I'm telling you. An hour and 15-minute rain delay, and it seems like rain delays have become the thing of the day, hasn't it?
We've had a few lately, that's for sure.
1-0 to Wayne Krenchicki, who's 0 for 2, and popped up left side. Santana back. Wilson, or make that Kevin Mitchell, is in there, and he makes the catch. And the batter, Tom Nieto. This game not only taken its toll on those that want to get some rest, but certainly taken its toll on the Montreal catchers. Nieto getting a foul tip off the thumb, it appeared. Thumb and forefinger, the right hand, after Mike Fitzgerald went down with a nasty fastball in the dirt off Floyd Yeomans earlier in the ball game. Strike one from McDowell.
And we thought about you, pal, when that happened.
Yep.
I know you can identify with that.
Yeah, I can, unfortunately. Back in 1970, May 2nd, as a matter of fact, ground ball shortstop, easy play for Santana. 2 outs as Nieto is retired. We had the 2 broken hands in the same inning, 1 out apart. I went out with my right hand crushed, and Mike Ryan, the number 2 catcher, broke his left hand, tagging Willie McCovey on a play at the plate. So there we are matching. We were roommates in the hospital.
And we almost had a similar thing happen here.
Yeah. Tom Foley, the batter. He is lined to second and struck out. Dwight Gooden, the pitcher of record in this 3-1 game. That's on top of the 7th. Strike one. Chopper up the middle. Santana got him. Good play by Rafael Santana. Easy inning for McDowell. The Expos go in order, and after 6.5, 3-1 New York. Now here's a word from our Ford dealers. Doubleday thought that this is baseball how it ought to be. The Mets have certainly played baseball the way it ought to be played so far this year. 34 games over 500. And Backman fouls it away. Against the Expos, however, they're 2-4, trying to make that 3-4. They're ahead here in the bottom of the 7th, 3-1, an hour and 20-minute rain delay. Backman 0 for 2. He walked. Back in the 5th. Change up from Tim Burke, 1-1. Social notes this evening. J.J. Capozzi, who fell off a ladder working with his dad in the house, broke both his arms, and we hope he gets well in a hurry. Lives on the island. The check swing, did he go too far? Yes, says third base umpire Larry Pansino. 1-2.
Well, here's just about the view that Larry Pansino had, and as you see, Backman was well around on the pitch.
Backman steps out with all the injuries tonight. We must also talk about Joe Hesketh, who was out for the whole season last year with that nasty break running into Mike Scioscia. 2-2 to Backman. And he's out this year. And Joe's mom and dad are watching up in Blasdell, New York, as we look at Eddie Westfall. There's Eddie. And the slider down and in, 3-2. Mother and father of Joe and some friends are watching up in Blasdell. If you remember, Joe Hesketh born in Blasdell because they didn't have a hospital in Lackawanna.
That's right.
Lives right outside Buffalo, New York.
Well, it's also a big blow for the Montreal Expos as in their effort to catch the New York Mets. Joe Hesketh could be a key factor, but they don't have him.
Hubie Brooks has been out for 18 games. Fastball on the inside corner. Bachman does not agree with home plate umpire Billy Williams. First strikeout for Tim Burke. One out here in the 7th, and here's Hernandez.
Here's the pitch. Nieto actually set up outside, but the ball was inside. Billy Williams said it wasn't too far inside.
Hernandez, an RBI single to tie it in the first inning. Montreal took the lead in the top of the first. The Mets with single runs in the first, second, and fourth, and they lead 3-1. Ball one. Kiner did it again to us. Every time he leaves, we get a marathon. Check swing, fouled away, 1-1. He's probably up there watching now and laughing.
That's right. Sitting back in an easy chair.
Yeah.
Favorite beverage in one hand, cigar in the other.
Yep. Just probably finished their dinner. They usually have a dinner of all the Hall of Famers.
Well, it's not as bad as when he went and we had a doubleheader.
Yeah, that's right.
Each game going 12.
That was July 31st, 1983. Hernandez taps to Grinchicki, 2 out in the batter Carter. Banner Day doubleheader, an hour and 45 minutes between games, 2 12-inning games. We were much the condition of those that got off the Nina.
It was a long trip.
Not the Pinta or the Santa Maria. Boy, we were wiped out that day.
And we didn't have Rusty to help us out either.
That's right. Carter on the night, 0 for 3. Mets with 6 hits, Montreal with 5. Bottom of the 7th inning. Tapper up the middle, and second baseman Tom Foley had him played perfectly as the shift was on for Gary Carter. The Mets are in order here in the 7th, and after 7, it's 3-1 New York. We'll be back after this word from the good olds guys.
Flying adventure and romance with the Blue Max. George Papard and Ursula Andress had an all-star cast in a special presentation with limited commercial interruption. Monday night at 9 on Channel 9.
The Expos leading off the 8th inning.
George Wright will be the pinch hitter for pitcher Tim Burke. Wright obtained by the Texas Rangers earlier in the year and was with the ball club when the Mets last faced Montreal. So George Wright, the pinch hitter.
George hitting 200, no homers, 4 RBIs since coming over to the National League. As a pinch hitter for Montreal, he is 0 for 7.
Roger McDowell shoves a strike through there, 0-1. The Mets on top, 3-1, and there the hits by innings. From the 3rd through the 6th, Montreal with a little picket fence going. Slider hit the deep center. Dykstra over, and he makes the catch. One away. McDowell came in the game in the 6th inning. And he has given up 1 walk and 1 base hit. Dennis Martinez will be the pitcher in the bottom of the 8th inning. Tim Raines has walked a couple of times, scored the only run of the ball game. He's 0 for 1 as he's grounded to second. Keep Tim Raines off the bases, and that's tough for the National League to do, but your chances go dramatically higher for beating the Expos. This guy is a catalytic converter.
Well, he's #1 in on-base percentage in the National League. Starting play at .408, and of course he has walked those 2 times tonight.
Sinker is low to Tim.
And I think he's much more effective leading off than he is hitting third.
Me too. Fouls this one away. If you remember a couple of years ago, Pete Rose signed as a free agent with the Montreal Expos, and then manager Bill Verdon had Rose in the #1 spot and Tim Raines batting third. Could not utilize his speed, consciously or otherwise. Tried to become a power hitter. He's certainly not that, even though he can pop one more than occasionally. Ground ball, second base. Backman on the short hop gets Raines. Good play.
Wally knew he had to charge the ball because of Raines' speed, especially running from the left side. That infield still a little soft out there, and Wally stayed with it, made a good play, and got him by a comfortable margin.
Mitch Webster.
And the batter, Mitch Webster, who's 2 for 3. 2 singles, 1 in the first, 1 in the third. Slider misses. Steve, we were talking about Kenny Boyer in a recent broadcast. Matter of fact, I think it was in Atlanta last Sunday. And I got a letter from Marvin Nagurney of Brooklyn. Very, very nice letter. Actually, New Rochelle, New York. That's not Brooklyn. Fastball is low, 2-0. It was close. I mean, it's in the area. But it's New Rochelle.
Just a different county, that's all.
Yeah. But he was talking about how people call Kenny Boyer captain. And we said that with a great deal of respect. The late, great Kenny Boyer, former teammate of mine. And I made that comment that they called him captain. 2-0 pitch, grounded foul, 2-1. And there was another guy who was the captain of the Brooklyn Dodgers back from 45 through 55, who Marvin Nagurney reminds me is still titled captain, and his name Harold Pee Wee Reese. And a man that is revered certainly as much as Kenny Boyer, and a guy who is the glue to those Brooklyn Dodger teams. So we did not mean to omit Pee Wee.
He really was the cohesiveness of the boys of summer, as
Really was.
Roger Kahn would call them. What great years they had through the 10 or 11 seasons that he was there.
I think that picture tells everything. That resting her head. Fastball on the corner, 2-2 to Webster. Count is full with Andre Dawson on deck. McDowell with 11 saves, 8 and 5 on the year. Here's Andy. Webster fouls it away. We'll do it again. If the Mets win this game, they will move to 16.5 games out in front of the Montreal Expos. Their largest lead of the year, 17 games, after they beat the Cubs the first game of the doubleheader the other night. And the Cubs won the second game. The Cubs won Wednesday as Montreal won, and the lead back to 15.5.
To put that in perspective and how gaudy it actually is, the Mets lead over the second place Expos larger than any other divisional leaders team over the last place team in their division.
That is amazing. Tap to Hernandez, shuffles over to McDowell for the out. 7 in a row retired by Roger. We go to the middle of the 8th. The Mets lead at 3-1, and we'll be back after this word from Express Mail. We're teamed up in the fight against leukemia. We're offering a personally hand-autographed Gary Carter baseball card when you send a $10 check donation to Gary Carter Card, Leukemia Society of America, 205 Lexington Avenue, New York, New York, 10016. New pitcher, new announcer. Take it, baby.
All right, pal. Dennis Martinez is 0-3 with a 7.50 ERA and no saves. He's making his 8th appearance for Montreal since coming over from the Baltimore Orioles. He's worked 30 innings, walked 11, struck out 20, given up 38 base hits. And one reason that Martinez is 0-3 and has a 7.50 ERA is that he has given up 6 home runs in 30 innings of work. He is the 3rd pitcher of the night for Montreal. as Tim Burke pitched 2 innings, allowing no runs, 1 hit. He struck out 1 and walked none. And Martinez will be facing Darryl Strawberry, Kevin Mitchell, and Ray Knight here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
And on the Nissan scoreboard, the National League, the Phillies over the Cubs in 11 innings, 4-3. Jeff Stone won that with a home run. 4-0 Pirates and Rick Rhoden over the Cardinals. No score. The Braves at Candlestick, that game in the 2nd inning. The Astros leading the National League West 4-0 over the Padres, that game in the 7th. And the Dodgers, who are playing very, very good baseball, they've won 8 of 10. Lead the Reds 7-0, top of the 3rd. Mario Soto, starter for the Reds.
And the Dodger pitching, which has been off and on all year, starting to come back for them. And of course, Pedro Guerrero may be available for them sometime early in this month.
Yeah, he's on the active list right now, as a matter of fact.
But he said he'll play when he's ready. Strawberry hits the first pitch from Martinez on the ground to second, and Tom Foley throws him out, 1 away. Darryl 0 for 2 with a couple of walks. And here's Kevin Mitchell. Mitchell opting not to follow Darryl Strawberry and remove his gorgeous locks, as he said. If he could have talked Dwight Gooden into it, he would have done it. But the doctor declined, and so Mitchell decided he'd let Darryl be the only skinhead around.
You ever thought about doing that?
Well, it would probably on me it'd be an improvement.
Oh, now.
No, I have not thought about doing that.
You know, I'd be afraid to do. I don't really know what's under my hair.
Well, before
you know
the game.
what I mean?
I do.
I don't lumps and cuts and bruises and dents and everything.
I'm sure I do too. Before the game, Mitchell hits a breaking ball to short. Hubie Brooks gets a good hop, and very quickly 2 away here in the 8th inning. Before the game, Tim Raines was kidding Rafael Santana, and Tim says, "Rafi, you're going to let him cut your hair off?" Rafi says, "No, man. It's too ugly under there." He says, "I know what's underneath." He says, "I got too many bumps."
I tell you,
too many knobs. That's what he called it.
I remember those Burr haircuts. I had those for a long time till I was about 20 years old.
As did I.
That was Butch hair wax.
That was their fashion.
Couldn't get that stuff to go. You get that stuff in your hair and it lasts forever. That one thing, you know, that Butch hair wax might last longer than dental floss. It's just one little speck of it, boy, and your hair would go back like a 200-pound fan is blowing on it.
You'd need an industrial strength solvent to wash your hair. 2-0 tonight, or 1-1 tonight, rather. Who is 2 for 2 with a pair of singles to center. He also drove in the 2nd Mets run with a sacrifice fly back in the 2nd. Outside, 2 balls, 1 strike.
Well, as we kind of figured, the Expos are going to recall, Jay Horwitz tells us, they're going to recall Dan Billardello from their AAA affiliate. He was just sent out last Saturday, as you said, Steve. Mike Fitzgerald will go on the DL, and doubtful that he'll play for the remainder of the season. Those things do not heal quickly.
No, and as you mentioned before, Tim, you can play this game with an injury to almost any other part of your body.
That's right.
Except from your elbows down.
Yeah, your hands.
And a catcher particularly.
Oh, yeah. You're throwing, you're hitting. Every facet of the game, obviously, has a lot to do with your hands.
3-1 tonight. And Ray grounds it foul, so a full count. 2 out and nobody on. As Bud Harrelson looks for an appropriate person to receive the souvenir.
The only possible exception is a guy who could run like a Tim Raines or somebody like that. If they got a broken hand or something, they could remain on the list for their value as a pinch runner alone.
But the 24-man roster makes that even tougher.
That's
on a
true.
manager.
Yep.
And Knight wraps one that Hubie flags down. A line drive to short to end the inning. Knight's hit the ball on the nose every time up tonight. And the Mets are out of it in the bottom of the 8th, but they lead Montreal 3-1 as we go to the 9th after this for Nissan. American League scoreboard 2. The Yankees split their doubleheader in Cleveland 4-3. The
lost, and 5-3 they won. The Rangers winning 2, 7-2 over the Brewers, leading 8-3 in the 5th. In the nightcap, 5-3 Red Sox over the Royals, 7-3 Orioles over the Blue Jays, 10-1 Twins over the A's, 5-4 Tigers over the White Sox, and 3-2 the Angels, who lead the American League West, over the Seattle Mariners.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Andre Dawson leads it off against Roger McDowell and fouls a fastball back for strike one. The Hawk is 1 for 2 tonight. He picked up his 41st RBI in the first with a sacrifice fly. And he almost picked up a shot in the helmet as McDowell wanted a different baseball. Dawson is also grounded to short, and he singled to left in the 6th and then was caught stealing. 9th inning with the Mets leading 3-1. Fouled off at home plate, and it's 0-2.
Now we'll see what Roger McDowell does. Roger throws so many strikes that it's very difficult for him in an 0-2 count to waste a pitch. He is in such a groove, and was earlier in the season, that even when he got 0-2, he really gave the hitter too good a pitch at which to swing. Dawson vulnerable to the slider low and away, and when you've got the hammer on them, they will bite when they're in that defensive position.
There it is. You called it, Timmy. Dawson out of there on 3 straight pitches, and it was the slider away that gives Roger McDowell his first strikeout.
I'll tell you, I've always felt that from a catcher's perspective, he can explain the offensive part of the game, or what goes through a hitter's mind, especially from that particular aspect of how defensive hitters are when they get 2 strikes on them, especially 0-2. Those borderline, you really expand the plate, and that's what you can do as a pitcher. Put 2 plates side by side and throw for that one out farther away from the hitter.
McDowell did it to perfection that time, and Hubie Brooks swings, misses, loses the bat, hurts himself, and hits Billy Williams, the home plate umpire, in the head with the bat. The only thing he didn't do was take Carter with him.
Oh boy. Well, this is one reason that catchers wear a protective helmet. Hubie Brooks swings, misses, and may have re-injured that hand of his. Billy Williams, meanwhile, has a knot on his head. It doesn't appear to be cut. Steve Garland, the Mets trainer, checking Billy Williams out. Here we go once again. The sinker. Carter catches it. The bat comes back and conks Billy Williams right on the head. Hubie, meanwhile, not trying to be funny by any means, but it looks almost like a circus act in that slow motion.
A well-timed combination of events, but serious, of course, because the possibility of serious injury exists, and Hubie's coming out of the game.
It might be that hand again, and that's the thing. If you make contact, boy, I have never seen a ball game where everybody is either injuring or re-injuring hands. Hits Billy Williams on the head. Boy, that hurts, man.
You remember years ago, Tim, players used to wear those hat liners inside their caps.
Yeah.
And that might not be a bad idea for umpires.
No, that's
to think
true.
About.
Of course, you'd have to change the cap, though, around. Right. Unless you had one of those little peewee liners.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is the inside the cloth plastic or fiberglass hat liner. Billy's laughing about it now.
Well, it's good to see Billy laughing.
Yes. I mean, he caught it right on the knob.
Sure did.
Mookie Wilson having a good laugh.
Everybody laughs after it's over with, but obviously players concerned until that happened.
Well, the Expos have to be concerned because Hubie Brooks had missed 8 straight games until Wednesday, and it has to be that he re-injured. He has a propensity to throw the bat, to lose it when he swings.
Watch Gary Carter. I've never really thought about the catching position being the safest place of the 3. But now Gary doesn't know what to do. He's saying, what's going on here?
He knows that Billy's hurt, but he can't tell what happened because he couldn't see it. George Foster's brought tears to his eyes. And as you said to me, when you look at it, it did look like a funny series of events. Hopefully, Hubie Brooks is not seriously re-injured. Billy's obviously not seriously injured, thankfully. But he and Mookie have had a good laugh about it. Mookie saying, "You all right?" He's stunned for a minute. Well covered, Mr. Webb. We have a nice little dialogue going on here. Wallace Johnson is going to take over for Hubie Brooks, and he will inherit the no ball, one strike count that Hubie had, and swinging at that pitch and missing it. And he fouls one off in front of home plate, so it's 0-2. There's Johnson's numbers, just recently called up. This is the 11th game in which he's appeared. He's 2 for 13. Does have a home run, and I think it was a game winner, wasn't it, Ken?
I believe it was. We'll check that.
Just recently homered to win a game for Montreal.
Well, he has no game-winning RBIs, but I do remember that being a very important
Maybe he
home run.
tied it up.
Yeah, I think it was tying.
Yeah, it was a tight ball game.
Wednesday night's ball game when they won 3-2.
So he's had a single and a solo homer. And he holds up on the sinker, and it's 1-2.
I believe that was Wednesday night in the 7th inning against Bob Walk of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Fouled off again. Still 1-2.
That area around home plate's been dangerous tonight.
Saw Santana earlier pound one off of his foot. And of course, the most serious injury of the night, Mike Fitzgerald, the starting Montreal catcher, who at the very least dislocated and suffered ligament damage to the index finger of his right hand and may have broken it. And a slow roller to second. Wally Backman takes care of it. 2 out here in the 9th inning.
I broke my hand in 1970. Had a lot of split fingers, but fortunately never had any ligament damage. But doctors have told me that ligament damage is worse than a break.
Well, I know it is when it comes to knees.
Yeah, well, of course, the fingers, you know, a lot of people don't realize you got those ligaments running up and down the sides of the fingers, and you see a lot of old catchers with that first joint. That's why they talk about catchers when they shake hands, you can't unhook them. You need a blacksmith.
You and Vern Hoshite just say hi. You don't shake hands.
Now wait a minute. Now my hands aren't as bad as Vern Hoshite.
No, I didn't say they were. Vern's are some of the worst I've ever seen. Tim Wallach, the last hope for Montreal, with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Wallach is 0 for 3. He struck out twice against Dwight Gooden, and he grounded into an inning-ending force play in the 6th against McDowell. 2 out and nobody on in the 9th inning, with the Mets leading 3-1. And a grounder foul outside of third. So it's 1-2.
Steve, if McDowell does pick up this save, it'll be the longest stint of the year for Roger McDowell. His longest heretofore was against the Pittsburgh Pirates June 6th. He worked 3 2/3.
So Roger, who has worked 3 2/3 even as we speak, trying to complete his 4th inning. And that little one wondering what's all this noise about. 1-2 to Wallach. And he gets him, and the bat goes flying, and the game is over. McDowell strikes out 2 in the 9th inning to pick up save number 11 and give Dwight Gooden his 11th victory of the year. Dwight going the first 5, McDowell pitching the last 4, and the Mets have increased their league lead in the Eastern Division of the National League over the Montreal Expos to 16.5 games. Floyd Yeomans, the loser, is 10-7 on the year.
Remember, we talked about that slider earlier to Andre Dawson. Well, Tim Wallach gets the same one. Off the plate away. McDowell retiring the last 10 men to face him. finishing strong.
Hernandez with a little fist of victory, and the New York Mets continue to roll, and what could be a big psychological advantage in this most important series for Montreal is the Haydens leave. Jane Fonda and her husband Tom Hayden and son Troy, at least son Troy among the family members here, and staying till the bitter end. So the Mets win the first of the 3-game set 3-1 over Montreal. Tim and I'll be right back to wrap it up for you. Stay with us. We're back after this for your Ford dealers. Steve Zabriskie and Tim McCarver back with you at Shea, where the Mets have won it 3-1 over the Montreal Expos in a game that meant a lot more to the Expos than it did to the New York Mets. But the underlying story, as the former high school teammates Floyd Yeomans of Montreal and Dwight Gooden of the Mets, who played together for a couple of years at Hillsborough High School in Tampa, Florida, is that Dwight Gooden pitched perhaps his best 5 innings of the year. He struck out 6 batters in a row from the end of the first till the middle of the 3rd inning, and he retired 7 on strikes in his 5 innings of work. He had his breaking ball. He had outstanding location and velocity on his fastball, and it could be a good sign. Not that Dwight has had as bad a season as a lot of people have written and talked about, but by the same token, there has been some concern, and he appeared to have everything together tonight. And a little measure of revenge too, Timmy, because the only other decision, and this being the 3rd meeting between these 2 former teammates, was won by Floyd Yeomans, and Dwight obviously wanted to rectify that situation. He took care of that too.
Well, they're even now. They're 1-1 with 1 no decision for each one. So the bragging rights for Tampa still remains up in the air. I agree with Steve. I think Dwight threw as well as he's thrown for a long time. During one stretch, Steve mentioned that he struck out 7 over 5 innings. During one stretch, he struck out 6 in a row. And regardless of how the Mets finish, I mean, they do have a large pad, a 16.5 game lead, but they're going to have to get a healthy and a quality Dwight Gooden the next 6 weeks so they can go into the playoffs. And I guess you might think it's premature to talk about the playoffs, but I know the Mets don't think it premature, because when you have a 16.5 game lead, you have to start thinking about postseason play. However, I will say this, that back on August 26, 1976, I was on a club with a 15-game lead. The Philadelphia Phillies and the Pittsburgh Pirates cut it to 3 over the next 22 days, and we ended up winning the thing the next to the last day of the season.
Stranger things have happened.
Right.
And I don't think that the Mets have to worry a great deal about complacency, because the way they have played and the way Davey Johnson manages, I can't see that as a possibility. We'll be back with a final word here from Shea, where the Mets now lead the Montreal Expos by 16.5 in the National League East, winning 3-1 tonight. After this word from Michelob Light. And for the victorious Mets, 3 runs on 6 hits, no errors. For Montreal, 1 run, 5 hits, and no errors. Dwight Gooden is the winner. He is 11-4 on the year. Roger McDowell pitches a strong last 4 innings for his 11th save of the year. And Floyd Yeomans starts and loses for Montreal. He is 10-7. Tim?
All right, Steve, New York Mets baseball has been brought to you by Michelob Light, super premium taste and a less filling beer. Who says you can't have it all? By Manufacturers Hanover Trust, we realize your potential. By Nissan, who invites you to test drive the totally new 1987 Nissan Stanza at your Nissan dealers now. By Burger King, home of the Double Deluxe Burger King. We know how burgers should be. By your local New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut Ford dealers. By Express Mail, international service from the post office. For $23, we bring you the world. By the great taste of Diet Right Cola. Everybody's got a Diet Right. By your New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Tri-State, Lincoln, Mercury dealers. And by AT&T, the right choice. Fans, be with us again on Sunday at 1:30 p.m. when the Mets take on these Montreal Expos live from Shea Stadium right here on WOR-TV. Promotional consideration was provided by the True Value Hardware Stores and Home Centers. Watch your favorite team anywhere you go with this Casio LCD pocket television with clear black and white reception. Compliments of True Value Stores and Home Centers. And by Wayne Scott. You never get a second shot at a first impression. Impress the first time with Wayne Scott shirts, knits, sweaters, and outerwear for young men. Available at stores everywhere. Wayne Scott. The executive producer of Mets Baseball 86 is Rick Miner. Produced and directed by Bill Webb. Associate directors were John Calabrese, Steve Olbaum, and our pal Alexander Salman. Technical Operations Manager is Arthur Gress. Technical Director this evening, Bob Goodman. And with the numbers, as always, statistician Arthur Friedman. The announcers on the preceding telecast were approved and contracted for by Doubleday Sports Incorporated. So until Sunday, good morning, everyone.